Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon and Antonio Saillant. That means this is a production of Taking Care of Business and Rocket Green Radio. And we have an incredible special guest today. Our very, very special guest is Taegen, who's with the perfectworldfoundation.org. The Perfect World Foundation seeks to conserve wildlife. And in this age, it's a real struggle. Welcome to the show, Taegen. And to start, tell us about what the Perfect World Foundation actually does.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. The Perfect World Foundation is a foundation that works around wildlife conservation. They help to raise awareness about endangered and species that are going to become extinct. And they have many ambassadors who work with different missions based on their passion in order to raise awareness about their mission.
Okay, and you're an ambassador yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your mission?
My mission is elephant conservation and all over raising awareness about elephant poaching.
There seems to be a huge problem with, I think, we lose 96 elephants a day, roughly?
Yes, currently the rate of extinction and killing for elephants is 96 a day, and that is one every 15 minutes.
That's unbelievable. So in the course of our show, we're going to lose 4 elephants.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that specifically worldwide or just a specific area where we lose?
That's a generalization worldwide.
Okay. Well, where do elephants generally reside, and in what habitats do they reside in?
So there are different types of elephants. There are the Indian elephants, there are the African savanna elephants, and so they have different, their ivory has different qualities based on where they live and based on how it has adapted to where they live. And so some ivory is hollow. There are also the forest elephants, but some ivory is hollow, some ivory is not, and there are different qualities.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now, they're being threatened only because people want to use their ivory, I guess, for artwork or carving?
So their ivory, they're being poached for their ivory. Their ivory is not just used for artwork. It is used in the illegal ivory trade for jewelry. It can be used for piano keys, as many old pianos were. It can be used in guns to inlay guns. It can be used in many different ways. People use it because it's very pretty, and it also is malleable, so it's easy to work with. It is the way that it's being taken is the poachers who come to kill the elephants normally. They're taking it and they're selling it in the illegal ivory market, and money is being put into the hands of different
poachers and stuff
armies,
like that.
Armies, yes, and things like the Janjaweed militia, and it's funding terrorism.
Okay.
Wow.
Huge problem. What was the moment for you when you heard about this issue and decided that you were going to take some personal action on that? Especially, I assume in your hometown there aren't any elephants like just rolling around, so it was like you grew up with them.
You are right. So I began my effort to save the elephants in 2013, so I was in 5th grade. I was invited to a screening of the documentary Battle for the Elephants at the University of Vermont. And after the movie, I began educating myself on the importance of keeping elephants on this planet, because it was something that as soon as I saw the movie, it struck me as I need to do something. And I learned that the United States is contributing to the poaching crisis by providing the second largest market for ivory in the world after China. And recent studies have found that more than half of the ivory on the quote-unquote antique market is in the U.S. is actually illegal and sourced from recently killed elephants. And it's in some places it's as high as 90%.
Wow.
That is a very high percentage.
Wow.
I mean, it's ridiculous. So watching this film is what got you really to target into elephants. Was that your main target, your main goal?
So my main target was originally elephants, and
Right.
Through learning about different animals, and I was actually invited last year to the International Conservation Chiefs Academy, which is at the Department of the Interior, and it's held in September. And rangers from the front line and wildlife enforcement officers come there to learn about their jobs and learn more about animals. And so I was invited to speak there and show my movie last year. And there I learned so much about different animals, and I wanted to further my reach in animal conservation. So I've started on a path of working with more than just elephants, but my main focus was originally elephants.
Now, did you create the Perfect World Foundation?
I did not. No,
Or you joined it?
I joined it a couple of months ago. I was asked to be an ambassador there because I had met the people from Lars and Rags Jacobson, who founded the Perfect World Foundation. They're from Sweden, and I had met them when I was in D.C., and I've just kept in touch with them, and they asked me if I would be an ambassador while I was at the UN. So,
okay. So, what in the course of a year? I know that there's different kinds of events that you either promote or participate in. There's the March for the Elephants. There's all kinds of stuff. Could you kind of give us a little bit of a calendar viewpoint of what a year looks like and what you do in the year to protect and defend the habitats and lives of elephants and other creatures on our Earth?
Sure. So originally, when I started, I testified at the State House right after seeing the movie.
That's the Vermont State House, right?
Yes,
Okay.
the Vermont State House, in support of Bill H-297, which would have banned the sale of ivory in Vermont. It would have also banned the sale of mammoth tusk and rhino horn because currently ivory is being sold as mammoth tusk sometimes in order to make it seem antique enough to be legal. And so I testified in front of at the State House for that. And then I was invited back after doing a lot of research to testify again for the same bill. And after I testified the second time, I knew that I needed to continue. So when I joined a new school 2 years ago, and when I got there, one of the social studies department chair at my school is used to working with films, and he does filming as a hobby. So I went up to him in the first couple months of school and said to him, would you like to do a movie with me on elephants and extinction? And he was very excited about the idea. So we created this movie, the first original movie. And after that, I felt like I needed to do more. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So we had the movie translated into Mandarin, Chinese, and so that it would be able to have a further reach, farther around the world. And that was when through that, I have been invited to the UN twice for World Wildlife Day, The first time I was invited to come, and I was recognized on the floor of the UN, but I was invited to just come and watch and see what the whole CITES conference was about. And then after that, or actually before that, I was invited to Washington, D.C. in order to attend World Wildlife Day events, and that was where I was able to talk to different wildlife conservation activists and see their points of view and see the other animals that they were working on. And then I went to an ivory crush in New Jersey
What's that?
past summer.
Wow.
What's that?
So an ivory crush is when people gather together and they collect the ivory that they have that they want to get rid of and want to take off of, just destroy so that it doesn't have any worth anymore.
Right, they want to get out of circulation, basically.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Wow.
So one of the organizations that I work with was helping to run that. And so we gathered together and I spoke at this ivory crush in New Jersey. And we, through that, I just learned so much from other people, learning facts about elephants. Because it was so focused on elephants, there was so much that I could learn from being there. And then I went to the International Conservation Chiefs Academy. So that's sort of an overview of 1 year.
Wow. Now, there are, I guess, certain benchmarks during the year. So you said there's, I forgot, is it March or October where there's the yearly March for the Elephants? What day is that on the calendar?
That is in October.
That's October.
Yes.
And is it nationwide, statewide, worldwide? And how do people find out about that?
It is worldwide. There are over 130 different marches. The one that I led was actually in that year as well. It was in Burlington, and we had people gather from all over Vermont in order to march in solidarity with the thousands of others who are marching in the same marches all over the world. And so we all marched, and I know a resident artist in Vermont who, her name is Teresa Davis, and she owns the Davis Studio. And so I went to her asking if we would be able to make something that would symbolize the 96 elephants that are killed a day. And so we had a long discussion about what would be the best thing that we could do to symbolize that. And so she came to me proposing an idea for, we had decided on elephant tusks because we knew that was the main thing that they were poached for. But she came to me proposing the idea to have our elephant tusks made out of pool noodles, which had been cut into quarters and then wrapped in plaster of Paris. So we made 192 tusks out of pool noodles, and we carried those in. We had different people carry them in the march, and then at the end we piled them up to symbolize all of the 96 elephants that are killed each day.
Unbelievable.
Now, when you talk about people, are you talking about students that have voices like you, or in general, are they from Vermont, your area, or are they from other places in the world? Who are the people?
So all of these people were from all over Vermont. They are teachers, parents, students. I had chosen a group of representative students that came up with me to, while I was speaking, to show that they had been making a difference at their schools. And they are all around my age from different schools all over Vermont. And they were kind of my representative students for their schools.
So let's start before we have a break, which will be in about 3 minutes or so. What are the action steps we can take as individuals to actually help be part of the solution?
Sure. So the number one thing that I have always said to anybody who wants to get involved is that they educate themselves and then they talk to other people and spread the word, because that makes so much of a difference. If other people know, and if other people are educated on the subject, then they will do something too. You can't do anything about the problem if you are not able to fix it because you don't know what the problem is. So once you educate people, they will take action as well.
All right, so let me stop you there for 1 second. In terms of educating people, where can they go? Obviously to your website, theperfectworldfoundation.org, but where else can they go to get some good solid information that, boils it all down to, an easy to understand format?
So the Perfect World Foundation is not actually my website, but you can definitely go there. On my bio, there are action steps. If you go to www.facebook.com/aworldwithelephants, that is my Facebook page, and that is where that is where I explain the action steps that people can take. My movies are there, and that's where you can see what action you would be able to take.
All right.
And then I would also recommend www.96elephants.org.
All right. With that, we're going to have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Richard Solomon and Antonio Saillant. This is Rocket Green Radio and Taking Care of Business. Pardon me. And we're with Taegen, who is really doing a tremendous job at helping to protect and save elephants on the planet that we're losing at the rate of 96 a day. Keep it locked in. All right, welcome back. Richard Solomon, Antonio Saillant, the Rocket Green Team, and Taking Care of Business, a co-production. We're with Taegen, and we're trying to help save the elephants. And I guess Antonio and I are trying to do our part by getting Taegen's message out there to all of you, so you can actually be part of the global solution, which would actually be really, really nice. So Taegen, we already kind of went through step number one, which is sort of education, self-awareness. But what can people do? Because people like Antonio and I, we don't really see ivory in our day-to-day travels. We don't see it. We don't go to antique places. We don't go to places where where you would see or come across, tusks or rhino horns or any of those other things that we read about. So what could we do to be a part of the help?
Yes, thank you. So the definitely number one thing is spreading the word, but also being mindful of your actions and not necessarily, I know many people are not dealing with ivory in their everyday life, but just being responsible and knowing what you're doing, as well as the first question I ask myself is, why am I doing this? I'm halfway around the world for most elephants. So Vermont, because it is, or the U.S., because it is the second largest market for ivory in the world, there are so many different, the illegal ivory can just slip into here because there is a ban on ivory coming into the U.S., but we must place ivory bans in every state, because once it is in the U.S., if there are no bans in different states, then the ivory just can make its way through. And currently, New Jersey is the only state without exemptions in their ban. California, Washington, New York, Hawaii, and Oregon currently have bans with exemptions of different types, specifically based on what state they are.
Who are your mentors? Do you have any mentors in your life that you speak to about saving the elephants and your action plan?
Definitely. I have had a lot of mentors throughout my work. My original first mentor was Laurel Nemi. She is a writer for National Geographic, and she is one of the ones who got me introduced to the subject of the ivory trade. And I originally worked with her a lot because she knows a lot about illegal markets for animal parts, as well as Brian Christie, who is the founder and chief of the Special Investigators Unit at National Geographic. I look up to him quite a bit for things that I need to know. He's very on top of everything that's going on in the illegal market for animal parts, as well as Jen Samuel, she works for Elephants DC, and I have done a lot of work with her to further my passion for elephants.
Have you ever got a chance to go to elephant preserves in either, India or, in the African savannah?
I have been asked this quite a bit. I have never actually seen an elephant. I would love to be able to see an elephant in real life, and that is one of my dreams, but I have not yet.
Tell me about elephants as creatures. They're supposedly smart. They're supposedly emotional. They take care of their young. What can you share with us about your knowledge about what's it like when an elephant wakes up? They go to work, grab a coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. So, elephants are altruistic creatures, meaning that they have a selfless concern for the welfare of others. And so what is happening right now is that even they have a selfless concern for the welfare of others, even outside of their species. But currently, as humans, because of the poaching crisis, we are kind of lowering ourselves on their scale, I guess you could say. They're becoming scared of us because of what we have done to their populations.
And they know it.
They know,
and they have memory.
Yeah.
Yes. And they also say that an elephant never forgets. That is why it's difficult when a baby elephant goes through the trauma of having their mother killed for her ivory. There are actually sanctuaries that take care of baby elephants whose mothers have been killed because they go through so much trauma and they don't forget that. That will be with them forever. And so,
do the males and females both have tusks?
The males and females both have tusks. The males tend to be longer, but they're definitely more dangerous to hunt because they're so much bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Generally.
Just so you know, I get invited to a lot of art galleries here in New York City, and because I'm part of the New York City art world. And I'll be honest with you, just like Richard said, I have not yet seen ivory or any that type of exhibit in New York City at all, or any state so far that I've been. And I think when I'm talking about specifically New York City, I doubt we will ever see it, because I think today, people would probably just not consider that as art, because of what you're saying and what's happening in the world today. So just to give you a heads up, for me, and what I've seen, I have not yet seen ivory or an exhibit of that. And I think if that were to happen, I think people today would definitely voice their opinion in probably a negative way.
Well, let me follow up to Antonio's question or comment. How do you know when something actually contains ivory?
So it
because maybe we've seen it, we didn't even know it when we saw it.
So sometimes it's hard to differentiate between faux ivory and real ivory, and that's why people, and also the age of the ivory is very difficult. And a lot of times it is tested, but there are professionals who can test that and see the age of the ivory, if it's real, and different things like that, because people are going to have their ivory tested because there's so much ivory that goes on the market, as I had said earlier, that is said to be antique, but is actually not at all. And there is people can make the ivory look as though it is old or antique.
They can age it. They can
age the ivory, and there are people who are able to differentiate between legal and illegal ivory.
Well, why would they allow antique ivory? Because ultimately it came from killing of elephants, whether it's current or years ago. Why did they make the distinction?
So it's difficult because no ivory generally should be sold, because any ivory is going to increase the trade and the demand for more. I believe it's because people believe that it's just old, so it's not going to make a difference if they sell it at this point, because the elephant.
Yeah, but I think if people see there's demand of it, it's going to continue.
Yes. And that's
right.
That's the problem with being able to sell antique ivory, because any ivory will increase the demand, and people will try harder and harder to age the ivory so that it looks like antique ivory.
Why is there such a demand in the United States for ivory? Because it seems, I don't know, it doesn't seem like something that people, to me, and maybe I'm just naive, it just doesn't seem like something that would just burst out as on the list of things you want or need or want to get access to. This doesn't seem to make my list of like the top 10,000 things. So why do people want it?
Yeah, so it's because it's usually not in. You wouldn't usually see ivory in the general public unless it was somehow somehow had gotten there.
Like jewelry and so on.
It's usually found in antique stores.
Right.
And that was one of the main reasons or problems that we had with Bill H-297, which our bill passed the House but was abandoned in the Senate because of a lengthy list of exemptions, because we had many antique dealers come and testify against the side that I was testifying for, saying that the amount of people that they normally get in their stores was going to decrease there because of the fact that people wouldn't be able to buy ivory anymore, which was one of the women that I work with did quite a bit of research, and ivory barely accounts for any of the money that they are making.
Have you ever done an internet search using a search engine just to see if anyone's actually selling ivory-based products?
So I have not. I've done a lot of research on statistics, but I have not done any specific research on if people are selling ivory in Vermont. Currently, I've just been going off statistics, but that would be a very interesting thing to do.
Because I'm wondering, aside from the soap that has the same name, I wonder what you would actually find if you look for it. Now,
don't they, Richard? Don't they? I mean, I could have sworn that years ago, somebody told me that ivory also you see it in jewelry, in certain types of jewelry. Is that true? I don't know. Would that be a factor too? Like certain people are using ivory for that, just to basically show and tell, for cosmetic type looks, and wearing a bracelet or chain or something like that. That's what I was told.
That's yes, that's one of the main demands. That's mainly in China. That it is used for jewelry, and generally the wealthier parts of the population will buy jewelry that is composed of ivory. In
terms of the United States, are there certain states in the United States that seem to have more of a demand for ivory than other places?
I have not done any specific research on the demand in specific states, but it's generally the states that are closer to different seaports and have easier access to ivory coming in from different parts of the world. And in 2007, there was an ad campaign in China that communicated the origins of ivory, and it is estimated that 75% of the Chinese urban population saw the campaign, and the number of people who would subsequently buy ivory was cut in half. So bringing that back to what I had said earlier, that if people see, because so much of the general population doesn't see ivory in their daily lives, if people see the problem and they know that there is a problem, it is easier to do something about.
In terms of, because we only have like 2 minutes left, in terms of your contact information, I know could you just repeat your Facebook and other places that people can look up your information and contact you and maybe try to offer their insights or maybe make donations or things like that? Where would they go?
So my Facebook page is www.facebook.com//a-world-with-elephants. And that is where the information, both of my movies that I've created are on there, as well as information on action steps and what the general public can do in order to take action on this issue. Definitely check out the Perfect World Foundation. They have a lot of information on not just elephants, but different species and what they have been doing. 96elephants.org has great action steps as well as pledges that you can do. And
all right. So I'll tell you what, when we come back, I'd like to talk about, because we only have one more segment after this, I'd like to talk about the two movies and sea turtles, rhinos, penguins. Was it penguins?
Pangolins.
Penguins. Yeah, I know, because I was looking for like the little birds and from the Antarctic.
Not quite.
So when we come back, I want to talk about all of those topics. So keep it locked in. This is Richard Solomon, Antonio Saillant, Rocket Green Radio, taking care of business, co-production of our 2 radio shows on environment to discuss environmental issues and put them in the forefront, because it's really important that we raise awareness of a lot of things that are out there that may not be making it to the traditional media and need to be heard and need to be voiced and need to be expressed. So with that, we'll be right back. Keep it locked in, and we'll be right back after this quick break. Richard Solomon and Antonio Saillant welcome you back to our show, Rocket Green Radio and Taking Care of Business. And we have Taegen on with us from Vermont. And she is definitely a steward of the environment, someone who's really passionate and an inspiration to a lot of people, including your hosts. So, Antonio, you're the filmmaker, so why don't you take the next segment of questions?
Sure. No, what I wanted to ask you, because I saw the film and that you actually mentioned in the first segment, but Young Voices for Wildlife. Can you talk about how did you come about to organize and to start filming this with your teacher, and what is it about, and who's in it, and what's the message that you're sending to me and Richard and to the world? Sure.
So this second movie is Young Voices for Wildlife. This is actually the second movie that I've created. This one was made specifically for World Wildlife Day this year, World Wildlife Day 2017. And it does not only have a focus on elephants, but it's elephants, rhinos, pangolins, and sea turtles. And it shows other species that are endangered as well. And it talks about how kids and young people like me can get involved in advocacy work. And the people who are in the movie are my classmates primarily, a lot of kids from different grades in my school. Our school, one of the unique things about our school is that all the grades are very close. So I have people in this film from all different grades throughout my school. And it was produced by the chair of the history department at my school named Mark Klein-Lucy.
I saw the credit in the film at the end. I thought that was really cool. So you have 2 films, and they're both up on YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
And
then one's like a shorter version, and one's the more extended version.
So there are actually 2 completely different films. The original one that I had created was specifically about elephant poaching, which is on my Facebook page. Actually, they're both on my Facebook page, but you can view the short version and the long version of the movie Young Voices for Wildlife on YouTube or on my Facebook page.
Now, let's kind of continue the journey. There's habitat destruction, there's loss of species. I remember seeing in one of the movies that there's been different cycles of extinction, but this is the first time in world history that this cycle of extinction is being caused by people. Could you reflect on that?
Yes, so there have been there have been quite a few mass extinctions in the history of our planet. This is the first and only so far to be completely related to humans and to human destruction of habitats. Because we are living, because of the way we are living, and because of we are living in animals' habitats, and
they have no place to go.
Yes, exactly. We are taking over all different habitats and polluting others. So,
sure, I could understand that.
Right? Because I forgot how many people are in terms of the population, but the Earth, there's billions of people on this planet, and I guess all those years ago, the population was much smaller. And as it keeps expanding, we're losing rainforest. I read about and saw it, I think, I don't know if it was your site or somewhere else, where they talk about, rainforest destruction. And because if there's rainforest destruction, there's multiple consequences in terms of habitat loss and weather changes and all kinds of other things. Plus, we're losing, and I think you said this very clearly in the movie about the loss of diversity in terms of species. You want to reflect on that for us?
Sure. So because of habitat loss, we're losing life's diversity on Earth is getting diminished because we're losing orangutans, for an example. Their habitats are being destroyed, and it's not related to normal Earth cycles. It's related to
no meteor, no ice age.
No. There's no meteor, no ice age. It's related to us, and we are also animals, and we just are kind of not respecting the general cycle. And
well, basically, we're devastating. We're changing the food chain.
Yes, we're changing the food chain. We've created so many things that we are the top of the food chain, which is there are definitely animals that are the top of the food chain, but it depends on their ecosystem and the environment that they live in, and we are kind of just creating our own. We're setting our own bar for the top of the food chain.
Sure. Well, look, little insects like bees is a big factor in our lives. So if they go extinct, we're in trouble.
It's called colony collapse disorder, and we're actually in trouble already because if you think about it, fruit, things like almonds, the whole almond industry, I think California is threatened because if you can't have the pollinators go out there and do their job, then we can't have fruit and things that require pollination. And that destroys our food chain. And then all the other animals that incidentally eat the same fruit that we do.
Sure.
And it's billions of dollars of produce.
It's like a domino effect. It's as soon as for an example, we can use elephants. If elephants were to become extinct, there are over 100 species of trees. Just trees that have to pass through the gut of an elephant in order to germinate. So we would lose hundreds of types of trees and diversity in the rainforest and forest of different places all over the earth if we were to lose elephants. And that's just one example.
There's a similar example. I interviewed a woman at Book Expo America who's an author of, I forgot the exact title of the book, but it was like a way to reduce your sugar cravings by having sort of a sugar detox diet. And she was saying that one of the problems is that because we tend to, as humans, only eat very narrow spectrums of food, which is sort of like lettuce, tomato, onions, mushrooms, broccoli, whatever, that farmers are not making some of the more exotic kinds of foods or, I don't know, like red lettuce or, red Swiss chard or whatever. And as a result, because the farmers are not growing that stuff, that those kinds of important vegetables are disappearing from our diet because they're not being farmed and they're not being eaten. And so we're losing, that as well because we're eating too narrow of a band of food because you're supposed to have a very rich and diverse, very colorful diet of all kinds of vegetables and fruits of different colors because the different colors represent, I guess, different kinds of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants and phytonutrients and all those stuff. So that also is a parallel thing in terms of what we actually buy because if you just buy the same things,
sure, and
it's too narrow, yeah.
And also rolling that back into species, there are as you were saying, crops are being grown, different types of crops are not being grown, and there are species that eat those crops as their primary food and are not able to eat those crops anymore once they are not being grown or are being taken out of their ecosystem. And it's kind of funny too, especially in the U.S., we go to other parts of the world, and a lot of their food is what they have been eating for hundreds of years, and their diets are so diverse and things that we wouldn't even generally think of eating. And so...
You mean grasshoppers?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Richard, if you ever go to New York, I don't know the name of the restaurant, but they sell exotic foods like that. And I never been there, and I can't even imagine,
well,
eating a grasshopper.
I did pass by a place where as I was waiting for something to happen, the TV screens had one of those shows on the cable with the very interesting and unique foods from the world, and I just don't know that I could eat like grasshoppers or ants. I just no. And I know
I definitely understand that.
I know it's good protein and all the other stuff, but I don't know.
Nope. Ain't gonna happen.
I'll stick to buying the red leaf lettuce and the Swiss chard, the unique, the purple radish or whatever. So tell us a little bit about sea turtles and rhinos and not penguins, but penguins?
Pangolins.
Pangolins.
Yes.
All right. So let's start with pangolins. I never saw that before until I saw your video, because when I heard penguins, I thought it was the little seabirds, which are also being threatened too in a different way. Yeah, because they have loss of the ice and other things that are putting stress on their populations, and they're having to go further out to fish, and there's all kinds of threats to penguins. But tell me about this particular species.
Definitely. So pangolins are now the most illegally traded mammal on the entire planet. They have an important ecological role in regulating insect populations because that is primarily what they eat. An adult pangolin can consume more than 70 million insects annually, and pangolins are being relentlessly wiped out by the unsustainable and illegal trade for their scales for medicinal purposes. They're also being slaughtered for their meat and considered a delicacy in many cultures around the world. So
why is anybody just trying to farm these guys or something like that?
I think it's difficult because they are illegal, and if somebody was farming them, it would be difficult because it would be difficult to tell between if you were illegally killing these animals and if you were farming them, and it would also increase the demand, and people would start killing them even more.
What is their natural habitat? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Didn't you do something at the UN a couple of months ago that they did an exhibit there with those type of birds? Or am I wrong? With I think it was Carter and Olivia from One More Generation, and you right? I believe so. No.
While I was at the UN with Carter and Olivia, they are working on a pangolin art project, and so they went to a school and they created this project where an artist had drawn a pangolin with no scales, and each person at the school, I believe, decorated a scale, and they put it on the pangolin and presented it to the UN at World Wildlife Day, where my movie was shown.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where are their natural habitats?
So they mainly live in the bushes, in different parts of the world, generally like savannas, but like in the woods, and they, as I said, they eat the insects that are in there.
And are they being illegally poached and exported, around the world, or just locally?
So
Or both?
both, definitely. It usually starts out local, but then as soon as the demand gets popular, then they go all over the world. So they're considered a delicacy, their meat, and then also their scales are ground up and used for medicinal purposes.
Well, speaking of medicinal purposes, let's go to rhinos, because apparently the rhino horn is believed in some cultures to have medicinal value, although I've read reports that there is almost no difference between what's in your fingernail and a rhino horn. But let's talk about the rhino and
Sure.
the pressures they're enduring.
So rhinos have been roaming our planet for 50 million years. Poaching of these creatures has increased by 9,000% in just the last 10 years due to their demand for their horns in Asian countries generally. And so their horn is just exactly what your hair and fingernails are made out of. It's believed in some cultures to cure cancer, which it actually statistically doesn't do. There are only about 4,800 rhinos in the wild today, and many species are extinct currently. There's only one single male surviving northern white rhino in the entire world right now.
Wow. We only have 2 minutes left, so let's put the final touch on this. There's only one left, but what can we do to save the rest of them?
To save the rest of them, we need to raise awareness. That is what I was hoping my video would do, by highlighting the fact that there have been campaigns actually that go around and say, clip your fingernails and send them to us. It's exactly like having a rhino horn, because it's exactly what your fingernails are made out of. So we just need to raise awareness about the fact that it's definitely those cultures believe what they believe is what they believe, but it's exactly what's in our hair and fingernails. So.
All right, so in the last minute, the websites are?
The websites are www.facebook.com/aworldwithelephants, theperfectworldfoundation.org, and 96elephants.org.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Taegen, keep up the good work. You're an inspiration to us and to many of your peers and to people out there. Antonio, thank you as always. And for everyone out there listening, let's try to be part of a team of people who could actually go out there and make some positive changes. With that, thank you for listening. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you for having me.
Loved having you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taegen Yardley. Did you know that our planet has lost half of its wildlife in the past 40 years? Tens of thousands of elephants are killed each year. Rhino poaching has increased by 9,000% in the last 10 years. Millions of pangolins have been slaughtered. The loss of our planet's creatures is eroding life's diversity on Earth, and the loss of diversity puts all life at risk. With the efforts of world governments, conservation organizations, and passionate individuals, we are making progress, but more must be done. Let us all do one thing today to help protect the world's wildlife. You might think, I'm just one person. What can I possibly do? But the truth is, we all have the power to do something, and the worst thing we can do is nothing.
I have the power to be a responsible citizen.
I have the power to educate myself and others.
I have the power to change the way I think and act.
I have the power to spread the word.
I have the power to make a difference.
If not me, then who?
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 If not me, then who?